In 1944, the Allies were getting ready for a big operation to free Western Europe from Nazi control. They set their sights on Calais, which was the closest point in France to Britain. The Allies thought an invasion would happen there, so they worked hard to make it seem like that was the plan. Intelligence reports showed that the Allies were indeed planning something significant. To mislead the Germans, the Allies used clever deception strategies. For example, they created fake radio traffic and staged troop movements. This made the Nazis believe that a large-scale invasion was coming at Calais. As a result, Adolf Hitler and his generals decided to focus their forces in that region, thinking it was the most likely site for an Allied attack. The Allies knew that convincing the Germans about Calais was crucial. If they concentrated their troops there, it would leave other areas less defended. This way, the Allies could target a different section of the coast, one that was not so heavily fortified. The operation was not just about sending soldiers. It involved a lot of planning and coordination among the Allied nations, including the United States, Britain, and Canada. As the days drew closer to the planned invasion, the tension built up for both sides. The Allies prepared their troops, weapons, and equipment, while the Germans reinforced Calais, expecting an imminent attack. Little did they know, the real invasion would happen on the beaches of Normandy, far from where they were looking. The deception was working effectively. The Germans were so focused on defending Calais that they didn't realize the scale of the Allied operation that was about to unfold elsewhere. This misdirection was one of the keys to the success of the D-Day invasion that would change the course of the war. On the morning of June 6, 1944, known as D-Day, the Allied forces executed a huge amphibious invasion in Normandy. This operation was part of a larger plan called Operation Neptune, which would become the largest seaborne invasion in history. The Allies had worked hard to keep their real intentions a secret, and it paid off. When the soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy, it came as a big surprise to the German forces. They were expecting the Allies to attack at Calais, where they had focused many of their troops. However, very few German soldiers were stationed in Normandy, which made it easier for the Allies to establish a foothold. As the sun rose, thousands of Allied troops began their assault in boats that carried them toward the beaches. The sound of artillery and gunfire filled the air as they faced fierce resistance from German defenses on the cliffs above. Despite the challenges, the soldiers pushed forward with determination, knowing how crucial this moment was for their mission and the future of Europe. The unexpected attack left many German commanders scrambling. They realized they had been tricked and that their forces were spread too thin. Some soldiers fought bravely to defend their positions, but they were outnumbered and overwhelmed by the determination and bravery of the Allied troops. The success of D-Day marked the beginning of a significant turning point in the war. As the Allies secured the beaches and began to move inland, they opened a new front against the Nazis. The bravery and sacrifice of those who landed on Normandy beaches would become a key part of history, representing hope and a step toward liberating Europe from tyranny. The deception operations, especially Operation Fortitude, were key in fooling the German high command. As the Allies prepared for the invasion, they employed a variety of tricks to create the illusion that their main attack would happen at Calais. One of the main tactics involved setting up dummy equipment, like fake tanks and airplanes, in visible areas. These were carefully placed to make it look like the Allies were gathering forces for an attack. Alongside this, the Allies created false radio transmissions, mimicking real military communication. This heightened the sense of urgency in the German ranks and made them believe they needed to focus their defenses on Calais. Additionally, the Allies staged fake troop movements. They used inflatable soldiers and made sure to transmit information about these movements to mislead the Germans. As the Germans encountered this misleading information, they directed more troops and resources toward Calais, leaving Normandy vulnerable. This clever strategy effectively diverted German attention away from the actual landing sites. While the Germans were busy preparing for an invasion that never happened, the Allies were gearing up for a surprise attack in Normandy. The success of these deception efforts was crucial, allowing the Allies to land on the beaches with less resistance than they would have faced had the Germans known where the real attack was coming. As the Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, they encountered fierce resistance from the German troops. The coastline was heavily fortified, equipped with strong bunkers, explosive mines, and machine gun placements. The Germans were well prepared and fought hard to defend their positions, making the landings extremely challenging for the Allies. Despite these daunting obstacles, the Allies managed to make significant gains. Many soldiers displayed incredible courage as they charged onto the beaches, facing heavy gunfire and obstacles as they advanced. They pushed forward, knowing that each step was crucial in the fight to liberate Europe. In addition to the main assault on the beaches, paratroopers had jumped behind enemy lines in the early hours of D-Day. Their mission was to secure key locations, disrupt German communications, and create chaos among the defenders. These brave men landed in the dark, some scattered and separated from their units, but they quickly worked to take control of important roads and bridges. Their actions further complicated the German response and helped weaken the enemy's ability to regroup. As the day went on, the combination of the beach assault and the paratroopers' efforts started to turn the tide. The Allies were facing intense challenges, but their coordinated attacks allowed them to gain vital ground, paving the way for a successful push into Normandy. Within just a few days of the invasion, the Allies managed to secure a foothold in Normandy. This was a crucial step that gave them the opportunity to push further into occupied France. As the Allies established their base, the Germans were left scrambling to respond to the unexpected attack. While the German forces worked to regroup and send reinforcements to the area, the Allies took advantage of their initial success. They steadily reinforced their positions along the beaches, bringing in more troops, supplies, and equipment. With each passing day, they grew stronger and more organized. As they advanced inland, the Allies faced obstacles, but they were motivated by the progress they had already made. Their foothold in Normandy allowed them to launch further operations, and they began to push back against the German defenses. This advance was not just a military success, it was a boost to morale for both the soldiers and the people back home. The initial success of D-Day marked a turning point in the war against Nazi Germany. It opened a new front in Europe and set the stage for further operations that would eventually lead to the liberation of France and a broader push into Europe. The bravery of the men who fought on those beaches would be remembered as a defining moment in the struggle against tyranny. Ultimately, the unexpected choice of Normandy for the invasion played a key role in the liberation of Paris and helped pave the way for the defeat of Nazi Germany. The success of D-Day allowed the Allies to move quickly and gain ground in France, which was vital for the overall strategy to push back against the Nazis. While the Allies were focused on Normandy, the German leadership had made a critical misjudgment about Allied intentions. They believed the main invasion would happen at Calais, which led them to misallocate their resources and troops. This error proved costly and served as a powerful lesson in warfare. It highlighted the importance of deception and the need for accurate intelligence during military planning. As the Allies continued to advance, they were able to liberate not only Paris, but also many other towns and cities across France. The success in Normandy demonstrated how effective planning and a bit of clever deception could change the course of a war. This lesson would echo in military strategies long after the war ended. The choices made at Normandy showed that in warfare, being unpredictable can be just as important as being strong. The Allies had transformed a well-planned deception into a victory that not only shifted the tide of the war, but also inspired hope for a free and united Europe.